Hi, Fiona Lewis here from Super Savvy Business, bringing you this week's Word of the Week from the beach. I'm down at Balmoral Beach here in Mossman in Sydney, and it's a glorious day. It's school holiday season. My children are out playing in the water, having an absolute ball. So I thought I'd get to and bring you the news for this week. One of the things that I often stress with my clients in the Savvy Mastermind program is the importance of ensuring that your website has a really solid way of building your database. And this is usually done and best done through what we call an opt-in offer, where you have something of high perceived value that you offer people who come to your website in return for giving you some of their personal details, whether that just be an email address or perhaps it might be a little bit more, such as a name and perhaps even contact details. So let's drill down into this and have a look at the sorts of things you need to consider when you're looking at creating a high converting opt-in offer. Now, the first thing that I really recommend that you look at is the headline of your thing that you're giving away. Now, there's a couple of different formulas that you can use that really do show through tests with lots of internet marketers as to what can really work. The first formula is where you have a lie. So X lies about something common. So you're like revealing the lie about something. Now, what I'm actually going to do is put some examples of how these formulas can work on the page below this video, so make sure you go down and check those out. The other formula that can work really well is to get a desired action or a desired result in a desired period of time. So for example, lose 5 kilos in 2 weeks might be an example. The other formula that can work really well is where there's some type of threat with the promise of a solution. So for example, you might have something about holiday pitfalls and perils, how to avoid X, Y and Z. So look, I'll put some examples on the page on my supersavvybusiness.com blog. So have a look at those and get some ideas, but it's really important that your headline is going to capture the attention of the people that come to your website and going to give them something that they want, something that they really, really want. So the next question is, what is this thing that you're going to give away? Well, there are certain things that are more value or have a higher perceived value than others as far as having a strong call to action. The sorts of things that can do really well are ebooks and guides, perhaps presentations, white papers. You might want to go down the path of having a webinar or some pre-recorded video that offers good quality education and training. I've also seen things like if you create a consumer's guide to something that can have a high perceived value. You might even call it, for instance, you might even use the country. So the Australian Consumer's Guide to whatever it is that you're wanting to offer a solution to. Can be cheat sheets, it can be checklists. So really think about what sort of problem your website visitors are wanting to have solved and then create a free giveaway around that, something that's actually going to solve that problem for them. You can of course collect name and email addresses through having a call to action, just even at the bottom of your blog, for instance. But generally speaking, the sorts of things that do well are the things that I mentioned at the beginning. The final thing that I'd really like to touch on is to make sure that you have a very clear call to action. Now this can be achieved in a few different ways. For example, make sure your call to action is above the fold, meaning that it is above the area of your website where you actually need to scroll. So some of the good places to have a call to action is in the actual header of your website, and the top right hand corner is also a really good place. You can even consider putting it in both places. So for instance, you can have a vertical version in the header of your website, and then you can have a horizontal version maybe on the right hand side. It's up to you. You can test and measure to see what works best, whether you have just one or two, but having it above the fold is really important. The other thing to think about, especially with your button which people click when they are submitting their details, is to make that very clear as to what they're giving you their details for, rather than just download now or click here. It's a really good idea to try putting download your free consumer report here. Tell them exactly what it is they're about to download or get access to. Another example might be get access to the free webinar now. Just have a think about the wording, because wording really is so important. You might also like to think about testing and measuring the colour of your submit button. So some people say that having a green button has a feeling of go and proceed rather than having a red or an orange button. Other people, friends, however, think that having red and orange buttons stands out and gets people's attention. You're really not going to know what is going to work best for your site until you test and measure. So this is the sort of thing that you can do split testing on, and split testing is something that we talk about in the Savvy Mastermind program, where we look at having different versions of your website and your landing pages and testing to see which ones are going to get you the highest conversions. Now, if you are sending people from an external site to your website in order to get them to opt in, then it's a really good idea to have them sent to a dedicated landing page for your offer rather than just your home page. You're likely to get higher conversion rates if you do that. And lastly, what I'd like to touch on is to consider maybe having different opt-in offers depending on the types of people that you have coming to your website or the types of products or services you have. You might find that one opt-in offer is really not going to suffice. So you might have, for instance, consumers coming to your website, and you might have other businesses coming to your website. So depending on what page those different types of people end up on, you might have a different opt-in offer that is relative to them. Think about too, if you've got different products or services, using the right-hand column to give them the option of opting into something that is relevant to the page they're currently on. You might find that this is going to increase your conversions if you try this out. So there's just a few ideas for you for this week's Word of the Week from Super Savvy Business. It's really important, especially if you're spending time and money and energy in sending traffic to your website, that you really do optimize it to get the best results as far as conversions and as far as building your database. My name is Fiona Lewis, and I'm here at Balmoral Beach giving you the Word of the Week, the first one of 2013, and I look forward to sharing more business tips and news with you throughout the next 12 months.